YouTuber that I follow, and I think I told you guys about this person that I followed. I'm like, oh my God, I love her content. Like, I'm like, did I find my people? I can't think of her name. I'm not going to drop it, even if I did think of her name. And it's really just because I don't know. Like, it's really giving, yeah, I'm just not going to drop it. But anyway, I was thinking about, what was I thinking about? Oh, the last podcast I made about like Black women, sisterhood, having nurturing, and just relating to one another as women. Obviously, we're not completely negating like empowerment in business and entrepreneurship and things like that. But given the current climate of like beef in regards to entertainment and the history of female rap and entertainment, I was actually on Nicki Minaj's Instagram today because my friends texted me in the chat and they were talking about something. And, this is something that crossed my mind. Like when I seen a video of Lil Boosie, I did happen to stumble on the Shade Room because I was really curious of like who started the Shade Room and what was their intentions for starting the Shade Room. And it was very interesting because, the founder, she talked a lot about like Black entertainment. And then I think this is the thing too. I'm actually going to make this point very clear before I get into what I was going to say, because the founder spoke about the intentions for creating the Shade Room and what she wanted it to be. And it's exactly that. Like, she created like a gossip blog. Like, she wanted it to be that. But in some of the commentary, like that she was giving in the interview that she had, I don't know what article I read about it. It was Forbes. And she was talking about like, why she started it and things like that. And it was like, she kept using the word like empowerment and like, and I was just kind of like confused because it's like, we know the Shade Room is super messy. Like, it's very much like just a gossip blog, which is fine. But I just think like when you start talking about Black empowerment and stuff, I don't really think that the two can really coexist. Like, we know that the Shade Room is very destructive and we know that entertainment has been like, but I do think in terms of it being Black owned or whatever the case may be. And if I'm not going to look at it from a critical gaze, if I'm going to turn my eye, because I was on there looking at Boosie, and I'm going to get on that point in just a minute. But if I'm just not going to really engage from a critical standpoint, I would say on the bright side, at least it is Black people who are owning the businesses, right? Like, who are in the industry, in the entertainment industry, who have some level of like ownership. But it still just like poses a question, because it's like when you think about the Shade Room, it's like we know how destructive the Shade Room is. And even though I'm trying not to criticize the Shade Room, it's just like it's very destructive. It's not empowering. And the owner was just saying like, why the economics is what it is and how X, Y, and Z. So I don't know. I just think that all in all, when money gets involved, things get a little tricky, things get a little tricky. And so my main point about the YouTuber that I just recently followed is like, she's about to make this video. I'm so excited for her to drop it. But she was just talking about how she was questioning whether or not to pursue her dreams. And so I was reading, what article was I reading? Let me think. It was a book. It was not an article. It was a book. And this book was the Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch. And he just talked about like entertainers, athletes, and so forth, and how Black people who are in these positions really do have a lot of money. Like, he was like they really do have a lot of money. And I think for me, a lot of times we look at that and be like, it's almost like you can't really fathom it, especially when you're poor or when you're middle class, right? Like, when you grow up, you've never seen $100,000. You've never seen millions of dollars in your bank account. It's really hard to fathom. I know for me, somebody having that much money, like somebody having 300 million, 200, like that's crazy to me. And I think it's just because it's like, I am so practical and I am just like, I don't know, like, it seems a little crazy to me, like, but anyways, he was just saying like they're paid and they really do have the ability to create and start and fund and really empower Black businesses and Black communities. Now, y'all know on here, I'm very much a conscious cutie. So I definitely try to just stay in that realm. Like, I definitely just try to stay in my lane in regards to certain things. I try not to veer and toe the line, because I do really feel as though even though I'm in the process, even though I'm in the making, like, I really feel like God does have a purpose on my life. And I'm called to a higher purpose. And so I don't really feel like I try not to dabble in certain things. Not saying that it's low minimum or whatever you want to call it. We know that I'm sorry. I don't really have anything. I'm not going to critique the Shade Room, but I'm definitely not going to be like, yeah, this is a very positive thing for the community. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and say that. So moving along. he talks about how we really do have the funds to like really build and sustain economic power. And so when I was looking at Lil Boosie, I hope he still doesn't go by Lil Boosie, but I was looking at Boosie on Instagram, just really acting crazy. And it seems like he's just always been very crazy, very destructive, just very much like so far out there. And it's like, it almost blows your mind, because it's like, is this, like, you talk about entertainment with some of the stuff that people do, it's almost like, is this real? Like, is this really a person, like, really acting and moving and behaving and having their being in such a way? You know, like, it's almost like something you almost like can't fathom. Like, I think for me, it's like, I really can't fathom how someone could, like, you know, like be moving like that. Like, is this real? You know? But the videos and stuff are real. You know, I think that's just one thing that really just takes me out. Like, it's very much real. But so my friend sent me something about the Nicki beef and everything. And, you know, I was looking at Nicki Minaj. I was just like very curious, you know, looking at her Instagram. And I just seen that she was posting like a bunch of videos from like this celebrity Instagram post that has a bunch of videos of like celebrities from, you know, years and even current times, right, listening to her music. And I saw that she posted something with Cuban, whatever the girl name is. She was like an old rapper. Again, it's like, I'm just kind of getting into this because I'm making a bigger point. And, you know, this is a rapper that like we definitely, it was like maybe like during our SoundCloud days where we heard of this person, and, you know, we haven't really heard anything else, you know, or at least I don't listen to that type of stuff. So I haven't heard anything else. But for the most part, once we started getting a bunch of female rappers in that space, and it just kind of, it was like nobody was really listening, like, because it was like, you know, people were making quick hits and, you know, and then it was like, that was the end of it. So her sharing this rapper made me think that this was nothing more like this whole thing with Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj was nothing more than a publicity stunt, because I didn't understand why Nicki Minaj was posting like very old, but like I want to still be relevant type of rappers. And so when I was looking at Megan Thee Stallion, I was looking at Nicki Minaj and just her, everyone's like, legendary Nicki. She called Megan Thee Stallion Bigfoot. You know, it does seem like a bit of a publicity stunt, but I think at the same time, it really, I think that this is what I've gleaned from this. I think what is so interesting is how we are all climbing and fighting for the number one ranking, and how we are all climbing and fighting for really like we're fighting for this idea of abundance, right? We want these opportunities that just seem so abundant. Everybody wants to be the number one star. Everybody wants to be top in the charts. Like, and we fight for these positions, not realizing how scarce they really are. And so it's just so interesting when you think about how all of our attention goes into the coveting and like the envy of living these extraordinary lifestyles, when it's really like a very much competitive and very much a scarcity type of thing. Like, there's really not a lot of opportunity for everybody to be a number one rapper. And it's so interesting how people pursue these careers. And I do start to wonder sometimes, like, is it due to a level of intelligence? Like, what is it about some people that just feel like they have to pursue the same position as someone else and they have to like stay, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. And I hope I'm making that like very clear. But overall, I'm just saying that like, it's so crazy how, you know, being, you know, the top entertainer or whatever the case may be, it's all just such an illusion. And I think what's so unfortunate is when you live under that and you are someone who's been on the top of the ranks and you've been in that space, it almost does something to you to where it's like there is definitely some cognitive dissonance, and you can no longer be like for real. You know what I mean? Like the way you start acting and behaving and craving that attention and that, you know what I mean? It's almost like you can't even get out of yourself. Like you just can't. Because first of all, to be the best at anything, to dominate something, right? And to operate in a spirit of like, I want to be on top of the world, right? This spirit of like, I don't want to say pride, but essentially, you know, and you want to be like, I want to be on the top of on top of the world. I want to be in the number one ranks. You have this type of attitude. You're going to inevitably step on other people, and you're going to get to a certain point in your life where it's like you're going to do anything to maintain and sustain that position, because it's something about who you have to become that a lot of people don't realize. And I do have a problem with a lot of people who may not be in these positions, right? And I don't want to say that they are, because I'm right here with you guys. We're, we're the bystanders, right? Technically, but we do our things. We're out in the field. We're just in a different lane, right? Because I think that's important too, to kind of like realize how that dichotomous thinking and that pedestalization of like fame and things like that we do in regards to like celebrity culture, how it really is eroding the lives of people today. People don't realize it, but it's very much impacting so many of us, because our attention is then going to the things that the people that love us, the attention that we're supposed to be receiving, the education, the resources, and so forth. It's all being channeled back to this person and not to the people around us. I was even thinking about this like in terms of like mega churches today. Like if you're tithing at a mega church, please be so for real. Please be like, I don't even think they even pass around like tithes and offering. You know what? They don't, because it's like you can just go online and Zelle. I believe you should tithe to the people who are in your family, tithe to your community. Like, let that be your tithe if you're going to give. I heard someone who was so big on like socialism and, all this stuff talking about how they're not going to give to nonprofits when there's so many underfunded nonprofits. Like, why are you thinking about the freaking largest nonprofits in the country that are obviously corrupt, like inevitably, so I have a problem when people start to group us all in together. I talk about this a lot, these cohorts, it's like, we're not in this together. We are not in this together. We are all on this planet, but we are not in this together, so I just didn't understand that in regards to that socialist point of view. But yeah, I think all in all, we really lie to ourselves and we think that we're fighting for an abundance when the reality is that there's nothing up there but scarcity, and the competition is on, and the person that you have to become to be in this space. Like I just seen Tristan Thompson, like, suspended from the NBA, taking all these steroids and so forth, which, me, hey, we have to look into the stories when it's a brother. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that, he didn't do it, because he probably did it, but I'm just saying, like, we have to look into certain stories because, hey, y'all know how it is, But anyway, I'm just like, dang, that's so crazy, like to really enhance like the performance and just like the work ethic. Now, I think one thing that, like I was saying too, like one thing I don't really agree with a lot of people who are in a space of like being a bystander and somewhat a commentator is I don't really like how sometimes it does give hater. It doesn't really give like critique, or analysts, like, or, for the greater good, but it definitely sometimes be giving hater. And I do think that does kind of raise a flag, because I told you guys, like, the problem with debunking celebrity culture, the problem with, rejecting all aspirations is that it creates steady lives. Like I told you guys about that, like living a very much sedentary life. Like you're not willing to get up and try and do anything because you don't have any inspiration. You don't have any motivation. And at this point in my life, at this big grown age, I can say that thank God I am finally intrinsically motivated. I feel pretty much, in alignment with my values and the things that I'm about. But overall, I just think that, I just think that there really is something said about like pride. And I just think it's so interesting to just kind of see these women really feel as though no one can be in this one space. Again, like I said, I do think it's a bit of a PR stunt, but I think even to come into agreement with that, to just create all that chaos and drama around your life just seems so crazy to me. Like, why would you ever agree to that? You know what I mean? For what? Like it makes absolutely no sense. Like I think that PR can be so crafty because it's nothing more than deception. And why would you want to go and promote deception? For what? Like that to me is low-key crazy. Like that's crazy. So I don't know, but I do think that overall, where we are today in like culture and just seeing so many like Black women, be so catty, and, so many people within that entertainment industry anyway, being so catty and being super competitive against one another. I think it's crazy. And I guess in summary, I can just say like, be careful what you wish for, because I don't know, certain things that you pray for, you really do have to become a different type of person to like embody a certain type of thing. And if you know yourself, even if you are learning yourself, I think a lot of times, Meek Mill actually said this, and I never thought, actually, no, I'm gonna be respectful. Meek Mill said this, and he was like, he was him being in the rap industry. I think he was saying he was getting out of the rap industry. I don't know. But where did I watch this interview? Oh yeah, I remember. I'm not gonna say where I watched the interview. And you know why I'm really big on that? Because I'm just, when we talk about sources and credibility, like I try to be very mindful, like not to fall in that space. Anyway, I seen him doing an interview. He was on a panel. He just was saying that, he was pretty much inducted or influenced rather. Like he was abducted. No, I said inducted anyway, but I don't even think that would be the proper terminology. Nonetheless, he was influenced to be in the music industry, and he was just like, they really lure you in when you're young. Like, it just seems so glamorous. It seems all these different type of things. He was like, we make more money when we talk about, a certain type of thing versus when we, actually educate the people and use our platforms in a positive light. And so he was just saying, like, he's older now. He just wants to be, more involved, and he wants to help people and things like that, which I thought was really cool. But I more so just say that to say, when you don't know, like, who you are, what your values are, and things like that, and you find yourself in positions, and I made a podcast episode talking about, like, typecasting and branding. People always argue, you can't put me in a box. People are going to put you in the box. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly where you're going. So it's saying, hey, even when we up out of here, right, we're leaving in a box. Well, not for everybody, but that was a little deep. Sorry to go so left. It was a little dark, but no, seriously, I just think overall, we don't realize that, like, sometimes our hunger and our tunnel vision can lead us to a path of, like, unhappiness, and it can lead us to a place where we're constantly fighting. And so we're looking at them like, wow, they got all the money, all the resources, all the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z, when really there's a lot of scarcity, and there's a lot of people who are fighting for that one spot. That's crazy, and it's not a matter of, like, not being someone who's competitive. Although I just don't think it looks good on women. Like, I just don't think competition looks good on women. I just don't, I just don't feel like that's what this is about. And we know that it can get pretty ugly and pretty nasty and gruesome and, pretty cruel with men as well. But, with women, it's just not a good look for us. I'm just, and it's not, I mean, I'm just like, I just don't think it's cute. But I've found that to be something that is a commonality amongst a lot of different things. Like, there's a content creator that I follow, and I'm like, this content creator, I'm like, wow, this, it's a great platform, but I can tell that, it's definitely like, this is my space, and I'm not bringing up or supporting anybody else in this space. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just think maybe there's something about being attached to a thing with, like, our egos and stuff that make us kind of just feel super defensive over the things that we build or the type of work that we do. But whatever it is, if you are somebody who's in that space and you're just, like, super defensive and egotistical at times, which we all can be, like, Robert Greene says that we're all narcissists and we're all self-absorbed. And he says that, it's not until we really come into a sense of awareness that we can tap out of that. So, I'm not speaking from a space of perfection, but I do think that in order to really tame your ego and, like, manage yourself in terms of how you show up, especially if you want, like, healthy, I mean, honestly, just, like, especially if you just want, like, a clear conscience, in summary, you do have to detach yourself from your work, and you do have to find things that ground you in your humanity, things that ground you in, who you are at your core, things that ground your spirit, right? Like prayer, spiritual practices that really ground your spirit. Because I really do think that, spiritual practice can be prayer. For some people, it's meditation. I meditate, so it's just like, you have to really find yourself in a space where it's just like, get right with the Lord. Okay, get right with the Lord and walk that path, because I think that path is the only path that really leads to peace. Like, it's even unfortunate to even be at that point in time in your life where you're still working, right? Like, here we are busting our chops, you know what I mean, in our 401k plans, trying to retire at that age, and you're people still in these really tight positions going at it, because it's like, it's very clear that everything that glitter can't be gold. Because why am I busting my chops to retire and you never trying to retire? You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to me. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just think there is something about dreams, the illusion, what it takes to get it, who you have to become, that really just can make something very ugly out of you, and I think for so many people, because they never really had that level of awareness, they never had the opportunity to really come into themselves, educate themselves, understand themselves. It's like a one-track type of way of being and thinking. And I don't think a lot of people ever really turn away from that. And so it's really hard. And so you have a lot of people who are just acting really crazy and you can't really see it. Like you can't see it because it's like you're in it and you're the person who's, enacting on these type of behaviors and attitudes. And you don't realize how like embarrassing, you know what I mean? It is. I think that's kind of what it does. It blinds you and then you become fiercely protective of a thing. And it's like, this is dumb. You know what I mean? Like you are a person, you have so much more to, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But I also think too, this is the very unfortunate thing about, having platforms and being put on the pedestal, for certain things, because a lot of times it's like to get the influence, to get these things, and you're not healed, you're not whole, you haven't done the work on yourself, you're not, you're just not really healthy, and to have all those eyes on you, I mean, I just couldn't imagine. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. I'm going to watch this YouTube video in a little bit. I really need to, this is not a vlog, right? This is not a vlog. We had some sunshine today, so I'm super, super happy about that, honey. When I say it was not enough vitamin D supplements in the world that could have really, you know what I mean? Like sunshine is going to do it every time. I'm starting to feel like myself again. We didn't have sunshine for at least 5 days. I'm like, this is ghetto. Like, this is crazy. Like let me not say ghetto because but I was like, this is literally so crazy. Like, how is it that I'm in this space? Anyway, I gotta call my grandma back. Hope you guys have a great day and found this somewhat insightful.